Okay, this is part two of how I met my co-founder, Sam Parr from My First Million. So for the past year, I was working in a small town, middle of nowhere, Oklahoma, not really enjoying my job, but being fine with the fact that I needed to do it in order to achieve my goal of becoming CMO at some point in time. One day at work, there was a town hall where a ton of employees got together and basically they were expressing their frustrations and grievances of what it was like being an employee at this company. And all of them were like over 50. They had spent so many decades at this company, and I literally could not fathom the fact that for basically their entire life that they had just spent so much time in a place where they were so unhappy and didn't do a thing about it. I did not understand it. So literally the next week, put in my 2 weeks notice and decided to try and help a friend of mine franchise a donut company. What got me out of my corporate job, which is great, this also ended up not going too well. But again, it was the exposure and opportunity for me to leave the shackles of corporate America and see what it was like to venture into this new land of startup world and entrepreneurship. The first thing I ever started was a women's college basketball newsletter. It's something I'm super passionate about, and there's literally not too much in this space, and I think it's low-hanging fruit to capitalize in this industry. So that's what I did. I started this newsletter. This was really good exposure for me because it allowed me to put myself out there. I interviewed a handful of D1 coaches and former players, and I just had to get comfortable with not overplaying my credentials or lying about the newsletter itself, but to secure them and get these people to respond to me and write good content, I did have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and just freaking going for it. The next little project was around run clubs. If you don't live under a rock, you know run clubs are like the biggest rave right now. And so this is what I was working on when Sam had actually approached me. I had just flown out to San Francisco to meet with a really big run club out there. I wanted to sign them on as one of my first clients, so they were being a little bit slow to respond to my emails. We were talking beforehand, but I was like, screw it, I'm just going to fly out and let them know I'm serious. So I'm so glad I did. It ended up going pretty well. They still drug their feet at the end of the day, but it taught me a bunch, so I'm thankful. At this point in time, I didn't have a website, I didn't have an LLC, I didn't have a business partner, I hadn't put aside any special amounts of cash to even go on these trips to where my audience was. I just did it. I just wanted to test the waters. At this point, I knew I had something that could potentially get me to leave my current job at the time, and I was fully ready to go all in on it. At this point, I was getting really bored at my current job. I was asking for more work. I wanted some better opportunities, and I just wasn't getting it. So at this point, I had paying customers. I knew there was buy-in. I knew there was interest. So I was fully ready to just quit my job and go all in on this run club business. And that's when Sam Parr reached out to me about a project he had in mind that he was looking for some help with.